starting by servicing the passenger side. Start with loosening all the bolts. And these bolts here are on good. They're torqued at 130 foot-pounds. Definitely need a good breaker bar. Get these loose. You need a good torque wrench to put them back on. That's for those bolts, and while we're at it, I'm going to break both of these bolts at the same time. Alright, and I'm actually going to take the caliper off here first without removing the bracket. Just because if those pins in there are sticky, I think it'll make it a little bit easier here to actually remove them while the caliper bracket is still in place. These pins don't look too bad. At least this one is moving. So that's a good sign. Use a little screwdriver to pop this on out. Right. Just tuck this around the back. This wire holding it up. You don't want to let the brake line carry the weight of the caliper. That would be bad. Alright. And hey, good news. Both of these, if I can really have to bring this camera around. The good news is that both of these sliders are at least moving, so we can take those on off, clean them on up, and also clean up the brackets here on the caliper. Let's go ahead and remove the. I don't want to slide those out of there. Take it out of the socket here. Move this and disassemble them. Clean it up and put it back together. Comes off that easy. And we're going to go ahead and slide these lines together. They're a little bit, yeah. So, I mean, not that this back one would have any movement whatsoever. Well, unless the brake shoe is wearing, but that brake shoe I can't even move. So definitely. This guy needs to be cleaned on up. This one, at least I'm getting some movement out of it, but like this one, I mean, I gotta break that loose just to get that thing to move. So we're gonna clean up again the brake shoe sliders here, and so that we get a little bit easier movement out of that, and that'll allow the brakes here to work a little bit better, especially when you put on the brakes and let off the brakes, and it'll also allow for your brake shoe here to move as the pad wears. I don't see anything abnormal about the brakes here. They look, the pads look in pretty good shape. So like I said, I'm just going to take this apart, clean it on up, clean up the areas right around here where the slides, and then lubricate it, put it back together. I'm also going to take these pins on out, clean those on up, and I'll show a quick clip on the lubricating and putting it back together. So so I think I'll just take the pause of the video for right now and start doing a little bit of work. Well, just a quick little video here. You can see there's a little bit of rust and corrosion on in here. I'm going to clean this on up with a flat file. I guess you can even see on there. I'm going to clean it up with a flat file and wire brush, and then put this thing back together. Maybe even use some sandpaper on that, like 100 grit, and get all that rust on out of there. So, okay. Alright, went ahead and cleaned up the slideways here in the caliper, and you know, they cleaned up pretty well. And if you pull out these pins, you can definitely see that they need to be cleaned on up. I'll probably use some brake clean and hopefully that'll take all that gunk off. And then I'll of course put on that new silicone paste to lubricate these pins on up. But fortunately, they're not too bad. I mean, it just needs a little bit more work, and clean it up, and it'll be pretty darn good. And as far as what I use for, seemed to work the best for this was, of course, this little friction pad that you know, it's a little bit more aggressive than a wire brush, but not as aggressive as a grinding wheel. So it did a pretty good job. But really, even simple hand tools with a wire brush and file will work. It's probably going to take a little bit of time to do it. And of course, whenever you use these tools, always wear eye protection. It just isn't worth taking out an eye without wearing safety glasses. So that's it. Well, I have everything all cleaned on up here, so I'm ready to put it together. And step number one is to put these pins on in. And to do that, let's see if I can move this on over here. Well, I'm going to use the silicone paste, and it is exactly what it is. It's a paste. So we're going to stick some of that stuff on the pin and stick it on in there. And so go ahead and goober it on up pretty good. Don't really think I can I guess it'll fit on in there. Looks like the can here is a little bit bent, but with the brush it is, brush on the can. So we'll just put a little extra on the end here, slide that on in there. And of course it has such a good fit now, it has a little bit of an air pocket, but that's alright. Make sure the boot, I'll put the boot on a little bit better here, but I'll need to slide that boot over the edge, the lip there, to keep that completely sealed. But definitely that does a good job on that one. And on the other one here, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and lubricate this on up. Spread it around pretty good. And of course, put that on there. So just a little bit more there. I've been told that if you use, well, I haven't been told, I've read that or heard, if you use regular grease on this, the grease will dry out and your pins will be seized, hence the need for the silicone lubricant. Maybe there are other type of synthetic greases that'll be a little bit more robust to it, but again, this is all anecdotal here. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the lips on there. And by the way, I'm also going to go ahead and, just while I'm at it here, just put a little bit of copper anti-seize on here. This isn't really a moving surface by any means. The brackets fit on here, but this copper anti-seize compound has an anti-corrosion inhibitor, and anything we can do to minimize corrosion in this area is going to be beneficial. So I'll go ahead and put that on there, and I'll put the clips on here in just a moment. Put the pads on, see how that all looks together, and if you can see it, sorry about that. And you know, put this all together, see how freely the brake pads move, and if everything looks good, we'll put it back together. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the pads back on, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of lubricant here on the areas that do move, and keep this lubricated and minimize corrosion. So, and if I look on the back side here, this was on the caliper side, so I'm going to go ahead and slide this back on the same way. And of course, that moves a lot easier than it was before. So we're going to go ahead and put the other side on. And this side right here too. Of course, now you've got your little spring clips that you're going to have to put together before you put this in the caliper bracket. Put those guys on. Yeah, and all we have to do now is just put this on the bracket, and hopefully, you know, it'll go together pretty good. Again, these pins are all lubricated, everything looks great. These calipers here slide without any issue, so I think we're good to go. I'll just take a little clip on torquing everything down, but I think that's pretty much it. Okay, I just want to make a quick comment here. When you put your slider pins on, there's a little flat spot on your fastener here. Make sure that flat spot is actually engaged onto the tang of the caliper, and that'll do really two things. One will be, as of course, when you tighten this thing on up, this will keep it from rotating, and then two, it will also give you the right kind of thread engagement for your caliper to be secure to your bracket. That would be very dangerous if you didn't get that tang in there aligned on the flat on the tang. So other than that, that's pretty much it. I don't think it's really necessary for me to show you anything more. You can torque the caliper just like you have on the other side, whatever those torque specifications were. And I think that's pretty much it. And you know, these pins, everything here, it slides so much easier. So that's it.